In the summer of 2018, a 13-year-old girl in Benue State, Nigeria, sat in front of a camera and told the world what had been done to her, who had done it, and how long it had been going on. She spoke clearly and without hesitation. That video was submitted to a Nigerian court as legal evidence. It was admitted, marked Exhibit F, and placed in the case file. The judge chose not to evaluate it. In April 2022, the man she named as her primary abuser was acquitted of all charges. He returned to his job as a university lecturer, and his son, whom she had stated began abusing her when she was 8 years old, has never been arrested. Welcome to Unprotected by Design. In this series, we tell the stories of women and children whose lives were taken or shattered by violence and examine the systems that were meant to protect them but failed. Today, we tell the story of Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje. Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje was born on March 10, 2005. She was the 11th and youngest child of Rose and Michael Ogbanje, a farming family. Those who knew her described her as an outspoken and intelligent girl. She loved school and wanted to become a medical doctor. In 2011, the only school in Ogene Metro, the local government education authority primary school, was shut down after the state stopped paying teachers' salaries. Benue State had an estimated 260,000 children out of school at the time. To preserve her education, her family sent her to live with her maternal aunt, Felicia Ochanya Ogbanje, in Ubokolo. Felicia was married to Andrew Ogbanje, a senior lecturer at Benue State Polytechnic. They had 5 children and lived directly opposite the school Ochanya would attend. Ochanya was 5 years old when she left. She would never truly come home again. In Ubokolo, Ochanya excelled academically. She completed nursery and primary school and was admitted to the Federal Government Girls' College in Boko, one of Nigeria's elite secondary schools. Andrew Ogbanje was a senior lecturer and a Knight of St. Mulumba, a prestigious Catholic fraternal organization. The family was educated, employed, and church-going. Around 2013, when Ochanya was approximately 8 years old, Victor Ogbanje, the son of the house, then around 19, began sexually abusing her. His sister Winifred discovered this and reported it to their parents. Andrew scolded his son. The abuse stopped briefly. Then Andrew began abusing Ochanya himself. The abuse continued daily for 5 years, from age 8 to 13. Reports indicate she was regularly dragged before the assaults. Her aunt Felicia, who had known about the abuse since her daughter had reported it, made the terms of Ochanya's silence explicit. Say anything and you will be sent away and lose your education. In 2012, Ochanya's parents were called to say she was sick. Her father found she could not move her left hand or leg. She was admitted to St. Mary's Hospital in Okpoga for 6 days and discharged. No explanation was given to the family. Felicia managed all communications. In 2014, the same symptoms returned. Another hospitalization, another discharge. Medical results were again withheld from the family. Over the years that followed, Ochanya was repeatedly hospitalized. Her parents sent money each time, and they were told that she would recover. In early 2018, her school called. She was not improving. She was admitted to the Federal Medical Center for 5 days. When discharged, she could no longer walk and had lost bladder and bowel control. Her parents placed her in diapers. They still did not know the cause. It was Michael Ogbanje who asked his wife to examine their daughter carefully during bathing. Rose looked and she saw what 5 years of daily sexual violence had done to a child's body. She asked Ochanya what had happened, and Ochanya told her. Michael took Ochanya to evangelist Enua Margaret Sue, founder of the Restorer of Path Care Foundation, who took her to Benue State University Teaching Hospital, where 17 tests were run at a cost of 23,000 naira. The diagnosis was vesicovaginal fistula, VVF, an abnormal opening between the bladder and vagina caused by severe prolonged trauma. In a child, there is only one cause. When Michael Ogbanje confronted Andrew Ogbuje, Andrew arrived at the family home with his wife, associates, and colonats. He knelt down and asked the family to understand that the deed was already done. He offered to continue paying for treatment and to refund all hospitalization costs in exchange for silence. Michael Ogbanje refused. In August 2018, while in Enuwasu's care, Ochanya gave an interview to Africa Independent Television. She was 13 years old, in diapers, and losing the use of her legs. She described how the abuse had started when she was 8, when Victor assaulted her, and how when his father found out, he began doing the same. She said she wanted her health back. Not justice, not punishment. She just wanted to return to school. On October 17, 2018, Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje died at Enuwasu's Rehabilitation Center in Otukpo. The cause of death was complications from vesicovaginal fistula caused by prolonged sexual abuse. She was a JSS2 student at the Federal Government Girls College, Boko. She was 13 years old. When the details of Ochanya's death became public, more than 23 women's organizations mobilized. Protesters gathered at Unity Fountain in Abuja. Women marched in Jos. Across the country, Nigerians learned her name. Placards read, "I am Ochanya, hang the rapist, justice for Ochanya now." FIDA, Women for Women, the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, and dozens of other organizations marched to the Ministry of Justice and the National Human Rights Commission. Andrew Ogbuje, already in custody, was denied bail. The Knights of St. Mulumba suspended him. Governor Samuel Ortom promised the law would take its full course and pledged to renovate the abandoned school in Ogeneamejo, renaming it in Ochanya's honor. As of 2025, the school remains abandoned, no renovation, no teachers, no Ochanya Ogbanje Primary School. On 10th October 2019, Andrew Ogbuje was arraigned before the Benue State High Court in Makurdi. He faced 4 counts, rape and culpable homicide. He pleaded not guilty. Separately, NAPTIP charged his wife Felicia before the Federal High Court in Makurdi with negligence, failing to protect the child in her care, and obstructing investigators from accessing her daughter Winifred, the key witness. Victor Ogbuje was placed on a police wanted list. He was never found. The trial dragged on for nearly 4 years, but 4 critical failures undermined the prosecution. 1. There was no medical examination of the accused. Ochanya was alive for months after her diagnosis, but direct physical evidence linking Andrew to the abuse was never collected. 2. There was 2 contradictory autopsies. The Federal Medical Center in Makurdi concluded Ochanya died of natural causes, while the Nigerian Police Forensic Laboratory in Lagos concluded she died of sepsis arising from sexual abuse. Neither was reconciled by the prosecution. And 3. Exhibit F was ignored. Ochanya's video testimony, in which she named her abusers and described the abuse in detail, was admitted as evidence and constituted a dying declaration under Nigerian law, but the judge chose not to evaluate it. And 4. The second accused was never tried. Victor Ogbuje was never arrested. On 21st April 2022, Justin Augustine Intoyiman of the Benue State High Court acquitted Andrew Ogbuje of all 4 counts. Reasons: no medical examination had been conducted on the accused, the 2 autopsy reports contradicted each other, and Exhibit F, Ochanya's video testimony, was set aside on technical grounds. In his judgment, the judge remarked that it was regrettable the deceased had not been able to tell her story before she died, but she had told her story. It was in the file. On the same day, in a separate courthouse, Federal High Court Judge Mobolaji Olajuwon convicted Felicia Ogbanje of negligence under Section 344 of the Criminal Code Act, sentence 5 months in prison without the option of a fine. The woman who watched it happen was convicted. The man who did it was not. Same crime, same house, same victim, 2 courts, 1 day. In November 2022, Felicia's appeal was dismissed. The Court of Appeal upheld her conviction, describing her conduct as heinous, and formally commended Evangelist Enuwasu, FIDA, and NAPTIP, acknowledging that without a caregiver at an orphanage, a women's legal organization, and an anti-trafficking agency, the case would have never reached court. Following his acquittal, Andrew Ogbanje returned to his position as a senior lecturer at Benue State Polytechnic, Ubokolo. The institution had taken no reported action. Victor Ogbanje has not been found. Credible reports from child rights activists and journalists place him in Lagos, pursuing a music career, with an active arrest warrant that has not been enforced in 7 years. Ochanya's brother, John Ame, a journalist, has stated publicly that he no longer feels safe returning home. In 2019, he was physically attacked at the Federal High Court in Makurdi by a relative of Felicia Ogbanje who attended the hearing with associates. Witnesses were intimidated, documented threats were reported to authorities, but none were acted upon. The family has alleged that Andrew Ogbanje has ties to a serving senator who they believe has helped shield him from accountability. That senator has publicly denied involvement. The allegation has not been independently verified. The Benue State government declined to appeal Andrew's acquittal. The promised school renovation was never carried out. The family received no police protection despite documented threats. The school in Ogeneamejo, whose closure sent Ochanya to her death, remains empty. In October 2025, on the 7th anniversary of Ochanya's death, a single article went viral. Millions encountered her story for the first time. The public learned that her accused abuser was in a classroom, that his son was allegedly in Lagos, that the village school was still abandoned, and that her family was still receiving threats. Celebrity chef Hilda Bachi donated to a GoFundMe supporting renewed advocacy. Activist Aisha Yesufu and child rights advocate Betty Abba called on police and Lagos state authorities to locate Victor Ogbanje. A formal commemoration was held in Abuja. On 3rd November 2025, human rights lawyer Inibihe Effiong submitted a petition to the Inspector General of Police demanding Victor Ogbanje be declared a nationally wanted fugitive, that the case file be recalled to the force headquarters in Abuja, and that the family be given police protection. On 26 November 2025, Senator Natasha of Kogi Central presented the petition in the Nigerian Senate. The Senate referred to its committees on ethics, privileges, and public petitions to examine whether to compel the Benue State government to appeal Andrew's acquittal and to launch a legislative investigation. The Benue State Ministry of Justice confirmed the case was being reopened, citing new evidence. As of the recording of this episode, no court date has been set, no charges filed, and no arrest made. Victor Ogbanje is still free, and Andrew Ogbanje is still teaching. Ochanya's story is not a tragedy in the sense of something unpreventable. It is a consequence of a country so poor that parents send children to relatives for basic education, creating dependency that abusers exploit. A consequence of a culture in which family abuse is treated as a family matter. A consequence of a medical system that hospitalized a child 6 times and never flagged the cause or reported it to anyone. A consequence of a police force that did not collect DNA while the victim was still alive. A police force that accepted a suspect's disappearance without pursuit and left a family that was grieving without protection. a consequence of a court that admitted a dying child's testimony and still found technical grounds not to evaluate it. A consequence of a state government that promised a school, refused an appeal, and ignored documented threats. None of these are accidents. They are the outcome of a system not built to protect children like Ochanya, children who are poor, female, and whose abusers are educated, connected, and respected. But Ochanya's story also belongs to those who chose differently. And it was Sue who took in a dying 13-year-old, ran 17 tests, and held her when she died. The women of FIDA, Benue State, who walked into a police station and did not leave. John Ame, who cannot go home because he refuses to let his sister's name disappear. Michael and Rose Ogbanje, still demanding for justice for a daughter they sent away so she could learn. And Ochanya herself, who endured 5 years of daily abuse to keep her education, and who, when she finally could speak, named names, told the truth, and was failed, not by chance, not by accident, but by design. We send our deepest condolences to Ochanya's family, to Rose and to Michael, to John and to those who loved her. May she rest in eternal peace. Her name was Elizabeth Ochanya Ogbanje. We say her name. Thank you for joining us today. If this story moved you, share it. The stories that don't make the headlines still deserve to be heard. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of one another.